I feel like ironing has been left behind. Everything is getting major upgrades and innovations, but for ironing, nothing happened in the last long time. I was trying to 3D print playing cards for custom games. They need to be thin but completely opaque. So what if I could just mark the surface in some way without adding thickness? Well, ironing came to mind. Every implementation of ironing that I could find only deals with the whole top layer, but why not iron selectively to texture just parts of the top layer and therefore create some contrast? How much contrast? We'll have to see. To put this selective ironing theory into practice, I focused on the G-code generated by PrusaSlicer and wrote a post-processing script for it. The approach is fairly simple in principle. In CAD, I add the graphics as a one-layer tall extrusion on top of the model. Don't worry, this height will not actually print. It's there just to trick the slicer into generating the desired ironing for us. The script then removes those unnecessary extrusions from the G-code and brings the ironing moves down to the real top layer. Of course, this sounds easier than it actually is, but it's doable nonetheless. Also, you might not realize, I surely didn't, the ironing actually has some filament flow involved, so changing the color only for the ironing was definitely an interesting experiment. But in order to get a flatter surface with minimal overflow push to the edges of the graphics, I had to cut out the flow altogether. Next, I ran trials to find the best offset from the top surface that would minimize those smooshes. I landed on 0.12 millimeters. Okay, I need to do a bit of a last-minute update on this. When I tried to apply this to taller models, I had to drastically change the offset and I got to negative values. The bottom line is that this is still very experimental. Now, to be fair, I knew my printer doesn't do a stellar job on top layer smoothness. Maybe yours handles it much better, so this setting is easily customizable in the script. Speaking of the script, you can actually test it out for yourself. Trust me, it's safe to run. Actually, don't trust me or any other random guy on the internet. Put that script in your favorite LLM, make it check it for you. It takes under a minute. Tell you what, we'll look at some results and then we'll do a complete walkthrough of how you can try this out for yourself. But first, this video has a sponsor and I really want to thank them because they've been supporting me from the start. PCBWay, you might know them because they built a name for themselves in terms of quality and wide range of services. Many of my projects mix in a lot of different production techniques, so this is actually my favorite part about PCBWay. I can get a custom PCB, detailed resin prints, bent sheet metal, CNC, Teflon if I may so desire, and order them together under the same delivery, because yes, delivery cost is the main downside of ordering abroad. But if I'm gonna get everything I need for a project in one delivery, that is so much better. Go to PCBWay.com, look around. It's useful knowing what can be done and what's the actual cost when designing your next project. Back with the results. While I don't think this technique solved my playing cards design, it definitely makes the top surface cuter than a corgi's butt. Think about it like a texture print bed, but customizable and on the flip side of the print. Patterns, logos, artwork, things that don't need razor sharp detail but offer some subtle visuals, or just break the typical 3D printed top layer aesthetic. Filament matters, of course. Silk seems to be the most contrasty. Darker and matte filaments also show the pattern pretty well. Transparent is the worst. Artwork also matters quite a bit. I noticed that artwork edges come out cleaner the more their angle approaches perpendicular to the ironing direction. Sometimes just rotating the design a bit has a big impact. It wouldn't make sense to print a logo at an angle though, so rotating the print bed orientation is also an option. I really hope you want to try it by now, so let's get you started. Go into CAD, or don't, get my sample 3MF file and skip to this minute. Sketch a small rectangle and extrude for 2 to 3 layers, factoring in the layer height that you want to print at and the height of the first layer. Then insert some vector graphics. You can get my test patterns for this. Extrude another layer height with only the parts that you want to be shinier in the printed piece. Export and move on. Follow the GitHub link in the description or the pinned comment. Don't forget to say thank you. How do we say, Jimmy? Download the Python script and put it somewhere. Now check the script like we talked. Once you trust the script, go into PrusaSlicer. Will our bamboo also work? I don't know, probably not without tweaking the script. Set up your model, then go to Infill, enable ironing, topmost surface only, and change the flow rate to 0%. Next, go to Output Options, and under Post-Processing Scripts, put the full absolute path to your script. All set, slice and print. Now, before wrapping this up, I want to mention a known issue. For bigger islands in the graphics, the underlying layer will get a bit of a messy infill. I haven't figured out how to force the slicer to create a clean layer. Any ideas? And also general suggestions are very welcome. Catch you in the next one. Catch you in the next one.